And we're live! Ow. Stay, snowballs.
Your balls.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 60... What? 5? What is this?
4.
64.
64.
Good lord.
What year is
episode
64?
64. Of the Crafty Boys. How's it going? Another week has gone by. Another bunch of cool stuff has happened. And it looks like England has gone crazy. So I think that should start off our discussion topic for today. There are some other things in here that we've got about...
well, it's timely, considering the beer that we have.
Exactly. So this week's beer, chosen by our own Locke, is Fuller's London Pride. So I'm assuming that...
You got a bottle?
Is that the bottle? Oh, you didn't get the beer?
I got the beer. I got it in a can. You got it in the
Yeah,
bottle.
same here. How did you find it in a bottle?
Yeah.
At the beer store.
Check the bottle. Where was it bottled in Quebec?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. Let's see. Bottled in...
Foreign beer imports.
Beer Town. Yes. Well, it says no. That's the no.
Mine says that it was brewed by Griffin Brewery in Chiswick Lane, South London.
That's what mine says.
Okay.
Imported beer, product of England.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Good to know.
Yeah, I got it. I got mine in the bottle at the Legacy beer store in Olympic Village, and it was there on the shelf, so I picked it up. I had no idea it was in cans. It could have been in cans. I didn't get it that far because it was already there, and there was about 5 other varieties of beer from the same brewery, all in bottles. So.
Nice.
All right, so London Pride, very, very telling today, as today is the Brexit vote currently underway. The polls, of course, have been closed for a few hours, but the counting is still ongoing. It must be, what time in England right now? Time in London?
I'm going to say that it's 6 a.m. there. I really have no idea what time it is there. I'm just picking a... time at random.
10 to 5. It's 10 to 6 in the morning, and they've been counting all night. And I'm going to open the beer. Let's open the beer first, boys, before we get into the discussion. Yeah, this is a... I hate it when I open a bottle of beer and I realize it was a twist, not a thing. All right, so I'm doing my pour.
Good. It's a
love
very
the color.
clean-looking beer. I can see right through it.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no... It's completely transparent or translucent.
It is translucent for me as well.
Like, there is absolutely no cloudiness to this now.
Ooh, look at me. Anyway, I was just looking at my face through the beer.
So
All
what
right,
kind
well,
of beer?
first of all, let's all take a smell.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming Locke has already drank most of his, but that's okay.
No. I'm one in.
Oh. Okay.
So, first of all, what kind of beer is this? It just says it's a premium ale.
Yeah. I think
So it's just like a generic...
it's not quite a bitter, but it sort of leans in the direction of a bitter, like. But it's too sort of middle ground to be anything but an ale, I would say. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's well, just to give you a bit of information from their website, it is a cask-conditioned ale. It is sold on tap, of course, in the UK. And it's also sold in a bottled form. It has nothing to do with cans here, apparently. I don't know. This is kind of strange. But anyway, it has been brewed at Griffin Brewery on the River Thames since the 1950s, and it is really good. It's hmm.
Smooth.
It's won the champion beer of Britain in 1979, and it won again in 1995, and again in 2000.
Wow.
It is. It's really. It's kind. This is a beer you would drink on the patio in Britain, and you drink a lot of it because it's kind of nice.
Now, I wonder if it would actually taste better coming like out of like from a tap. I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just saying, like, would you get like a different experience with it coming out of a tap, like in a pub in England, like rather than sitting here in front of a computer drinking it out of a can?
Remarkably close. It's not the same thing, but it's remarkably close. They've captured it pretty well, at least the one that I'm having.
Kind of makes me wonder why they didn't package it with a nitrogen. Any idea why they didn't pack it with a nitrogen-infused can?
Well, it's not normally a nitro beer. Like it's not like Boddington's or Guinness or any of those. Like it's usually hand pulled, right? So yeah, I mean, I think in terms of the head, it's not crispy. It's not a bright sort of mouthfeel. It's kind of golden, kind of smooth. You see what I mean?
Mm.
What's the international beer units on this particular beer?
The international beer units, I have no idea. I don't know if it's I didn't see it on the bottle.
It's not on the can. I'm gonna estimate that it's like a 12.
It's quite low. I would say it's about 12, 18, somewhere in there. The beer itself is kind of it's a beer that has not had a lot of change to it, I gather, over the years. It's basically just like its namesake, the London's Pride, which was a flower, I think. But essentially, London Pride is a now I'm really digging into my incredibly low knowledge of plants, but it is a flower that has been around for a while, but gained popularity during the Blitz because it was very resilient to what was going on in London at the time. The whole having bombs dropped on you. And so I gather it got its name that way, and the beer is named after that flower because it was able to provide a I don't know, the British spirit. It was able to kind of re-energize your things. Of course, I didn't live during the period, so somebody who did could inform me otherwise. But essentially, it is a beer that's basically England's beer, is the article that I read about it yesterday. So I gather it is at least from the claim of the article, the most widely consumed beer in England, closer to London, I would think. But there you go. I gotta say, it is a hearty, colorful, smells great, but a very light kind of ale. And I really give it. Unfortunately, I don't know what the international beer units are on this ale, but it's quite low, and it's heavily filtered too. So,
Dave, what do you think of it?
I like it. It's interesting. It's a lot. it reminds me a lot of the other English can that we had, and I can't remember what it was, unfortunately.
Was it Waddington's?
Yeah, I think we
Yeah, I think that was it, wasn't it? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
see that is
Because
a beer, that one. But this is, would you say that this is also got that sort of smooth sort of mouthfeel?
yes, yeah, something that's easy to drink for sure. And I don't know why, but it to sound really weird, this totally speaks to me of the whole pub scene in England. You know, because and I have zero personal experience with it. I should say. So, Locke, you can correct me, but from what I understand, over there, the whole idea of the pub is something completely different from what we think of in terms of pubs
Yeah,
and
I
you
think
know booze establishments, right? The whole family is down there to hang out.
yeah, yeah. It's more normal uh, to I mean, you have conversations at pubs, right? Like most of the things that call themselves pubs at least in BC, and I think there's maybe a little bit more pubishness in Victoria, but for most of the places that call themselves pubs, the music's too loud for it to be anything but a bar, if you see what I mean. Like a bar is,
Yeah.
the music's pumping. They've got maybe sports on TV, right?
Yeah.
A pub,
You have to
yeah, the pub's
scream
still
to
got sports on TV, but the volume's down, and if there's music, it's unobtrusive. People can talk.
Yeah.
And it's also, I mean, pub culture here is not. Actually, no, there's a television show out of the UK, which I think starts its life in, I want to say, what is the city on the ocean in the south that's really big? Uh,
Brighton.
Brighton. It starts out in Brighton, and the interesting part about that show is that it's filmed in an average neighborhood. There's nothing really special about it. There's no landmarks. There's nothing like that. But it also has two pubs in the show, and both of them are very close to where the main cast, the characters of the show live. They just sort of, when they go out, they choose which direction to go in, and they go there, and they are very small. They're not like pubs here. You go to, like, I don't know. I'll call, say, Boston Pizza pub, even though it's not really a pub.
It's not a pub.
But generally, restaurants, at least the ones that I'm familiar with, they're quite large. They're not that tiny. They're there's a whole lot of space, a lot of air, that kind of thing. And then you go to a pub in this television show, and it's kind of like I turn my kitchen into a pub. It's got 5 tables at a bar, and that's kind of it. There's not a whole lot of space. There's not a lot of choice. And it always struck me in that program. Actually, come to think of it, isn't the pub in Coronation Street kind of that way? It's not huge, but it's cozy. That kind of feel.
Yeah.
There's one on. There's actually what is that pub in Kitsilano, Lock, that I like? And you've been to the London Arms, I think, or something.
Oh, maybe the Dover Arm?
I can't remember. Yeah, I think something like that. The King's Head. The King's Head. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
And but you go there, and it is this experience of. It used to. Sorry, let me correct this. It was renovated last year, so it kind of lost the feel. But you would walk in, and a couple of the booths are kind of sunk. They're a couple steps down, and then they have a second sort of, not on a full floor, but a mezzanine, and some booths on one side. And it used to have this real cozy kind of feel, which I really enjoyed. All it really needed, I think, was like a big fireplace in the middle or something. But that's kind of what a pub is, I think, in other parts of the world, especially in England with, it is the watering hole, and that is where you go, you finish your day job or whatever it is, and then you go there to hang out with people you know. And I think in my life here at this stage of my life, that is the rooftop in my building, where you go there, you hang out with people you know, you shoot the shit, you do whatever you want to do, and then it's like, okay, guys, whatever time it is, it's dark usually, I'm going to bed, that kind of thing. And you don't get that anymore, I think, in a lot of places. It's very much not a Canadian thing. Does that make sense?
I blame the internet.
You blame the internet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dave, what about where you're living right now? Is there kind of like a local, like a small pub somewhere nearby, or?
Yeah. We actually have a new space. You guys need to all come up so we can check it out.
What's it called?
It's called Cornerstone.
Okay.
And it's so okay. For those that don't know, in BC, if you're serving booze, you got to serve food. I don't know if this is a common thing throughout, the Western world kind of thing. But yeah, anywho, so there's the first place was a collaboration because Gladstone Brewery wanted to set up shop in downtown Courtenay. So they partnered with an outfit called Gorilla Pizza. And they are in the same space, but they are separate businesses. And there's not a lot of room inside to sit down. It's they've built, actually they made use of the sort of arbor type thingy that was built outside. You know how they just put sort of that clear plastic stuff over and maybe a couple of heaters if need be outside. Yeah, so that's the seating we have, and I was there with my buddy Chris a couple of 3 weeks ago when he was in, and I think they had a Belgian that I tried, and it was really tasty. And oh my god, the pizza was just fucking unbelievable. It's hands down, yeah, because we grabbed one of their pizzas too. They're not super cheap, and when you first look at this thing, you're thinking, oh, okay, this is what passes for pizza here. Like, there's no crust, it's totally thin, and there's not a lot of toppings. So you're thinking, wow, okay, this could be interesting. But I swear to you, it's the tastiest thing I've had in a restaurant pizza, period.
Wow.
It was that good. Yeah.
Cool.
And the beer was great, too. I really enjoyed it, actually. And they've got a few that you can choose from. So that's Gladstone, and that was my first time I'd been in there, too. They've been around for, I don't know what, I think at least a year now, but I just never been in. So I finally had a chance, and I really enjoyed it. It was cool. But yeah, Shane, it kind of reminds me of what you're talking about these small, intimate spaces. Well, these guys have almost no space. They've got, I think, literally 2 or 3 tables inside the building, and most of the seating is outside. So for some of the year, of course, they don't get many people sticking around because it's just too crap, right? Mm. But they now, same brewery, Gladstone, has partnered with a restaurant in town, which is super famous in town. It's called Atlas. They've been around for at least 20 years, and they've got a good rep for, serving good stuff. So Gladstone partnered with Atlas to make what they call Cornerstone, and I've yet to be in there, but it is a full tap house.
Oh.
And it's actually got plenty of space inside to sit down because it's an ex-coffee house. Used to be a coffee shop there. And there's lots of room. It's not huge, but there's plenty of room and there's plenty of tables. And I can't remember how many taps they said they had. I think it was 12 or 15 taps.
Wow.
Which, that alone surprises me for a town like Courtenay. I mean, Courtenay's sort of a one-horse town still, you know. Very small population comparatively. But, yeah, apparently they built this tap room, and like I say, I haven't been in yet. One of these days I'm going to give it a shot, but it looks like they're doing really well, so it's cool. But yeah, I have a feeling that it would probably skate more toward that English experience that you're talking about, Shane, you know, sort of a little more intimate, a little smaller, just a place that you're going to go and hang out, and you're not going to have that 180 decibel music. They just don't do that in there, you know, so
Yeah, I mean,
place you would go to just chill.
It's sad that we don't have a lot of places in at least where I grew up in Victoria and where I am now in Vancouver. We still don't have a lot of those those intimate spaces where you can go. Like a lot of them, a lot of live performances, things like I've gone to might have some sort of connection to a small space, but ultimately you're kind of left, to going to most restaurants that have blaring music. There is a space that I like in town called oh good lord. What's the geek bar on oh my god.
That'd be a great name for a bar. Oh dear lord.
Oh my god, I can't think of what it's called right now.
Yeah, I know the one you mean. It's something like Game Over or
Crow.
Oh, you're talking about Stormcrow.
Stormcrow. Thank you, Dave. Of all people in bloody Black Creek, Stormcrow.
Well, I went there with you a few times.
I know,
remember it.
and there's actually a second one now on Broadway.
Oh, really?
But essentially, Stormcrow, the one I'm thinking about is the one over on Commercial Drive, which is not a huge space, but it's got that sort of very. If it were quieter, it would be better, because sometimes when I go in there, it's very loud still, and I'm kind of not. I don't like the loud places anymore. I'm kind of really not jiving on this, especially when it's like so loud you're trying to have a conversation, but you're screaming at the person, and then the next day you're like, I have a bit of a raw throat because last night I went to a restaurant last night. I didn't go to a concert. Which reminds me, speaking of concerts, tickets on the 26th of July, the Hip, mic drop. But anyway,
you can shut up now, sir.
Yeah.
You can just shut up.
So anyway, but yeah, I mean, you don't go you go to concerts that you expect to be loud, but you don't go to the restaurant and expect to be deafened, which it is kind of par for the course now. So, but if it were, but as you're saying, Locke, if it was subtle sort of background noise, it's not invasive, and you're able to go there, have a beer, talk to somebody, even meet new people who are there, that would be far better. And I think a Canadian experience that might have been something a long time ago, but not anymore. And I'm kind of saddened by that. And being able to drink beer like this, that's been around for a good 60, almost 70 years. It's sad that we can't just go and enjoy the company of people and also enjoy a beverage that's really calm and
Let's talk about what the UK is going to do now that it's decided to go its own way. What are they going to export?
I don't know.
Maybe they know something about pubs. I'd hate to see every pub be a Witherspoons, but it's not bad to have one of them around.
What did you say that again?
In London?
I'm saying I've never seen a Witherspoons outside of England. Maybe there's reasons for that besides. But I mean, I kind of like them, and they're not perfect, but they're pretty good. Like they seem to manage.
Are they a franchise?
About as well as McDonald's. So I mean, if you look at the way they've played their game in the UK, I mean, whatever else they are, which is mostly a purveyor of beer and one that makes a point of inviting people from around the Commonwealth. I could see Witherspoons, Toronto, Witherspoons, Vancouver. Yeah, like I'd go, totally. But if they're going to do it,
would they do it?
Well, look, they're going to have to do something, aren't they?
So, what does it mean now that this vote is not quite finished? I'm just looking at the live feed here from the BBC. Apparently, they have five more places to call in, but it looks like they've just squeaked in the leave vote by what they need for a referendum. And it looks like the bulk of people who want to leave are sort of, well, I want to say they're out in the Tulies, but not really. A lot of the sort of major urban centers seem to be not too wild about it. So I don't know. Okay, from the perspective of beer, will this affect beer imports into Canada? I suspect not, but you never know.
Oh, sorry, I missed what you said there. You were.
Will this affect beer imports into Canada? The EU results the UK results we're seeing right now.
The likelihood is we'll see more beer.
We'll see more beer?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's net effect of leaving. I mean, it's the opposite of what the curious thing about the politics surrounding this vote is. I don't think they were really ever talking about the issues that I think were actually relevant, which is that ultimately EU incursion on the common law was something that could have negative effects worldwide long term, as opposed to the next few years of pain, right? So that was a more significant issue. But in terms of the whole idea of that this is Britain turning its back to the world is absolute nonsense. What it's done is it's put itself in a position where it has no choice now but to aggressively renegotiate its place in the world by making deals and trading more than ever with the rest of the planet. I think that's the only answer for Britain, and ultimately I hope they go with what they've always done very well, or at least what they used to do very well. Back in the 18th century, they used to call the British, the Europeans used to make fun of them for being a nation of shopkeepers. Well, a nation of shopkeepers, that's a nation of business owners. I mean, all this rhetoric about jobs, Lord, there's something about the common law that people have forgotten, and that's that it's the most effective commercial tool for starting businesses that anybody's come up with yet. So there's your answer to me. I mean, I think we're going to see some exciting times. Hopefully more will go on in terms of craft going back and forth in a beneficial commercial exchange.
Cool. I'm very happy about that.
Excellent.
Did anybody see the John Oliver piece on Monday or Tuesday about the whole vote? Did you guys check that out?
No, I didn't see it.
Not.
I would go and watch it. It is very interesting, eye-opening, to the point where it won't air in the UK until after the vote.
Oh, oh no!
It is really unfortunate that video is not playing in the UK. I'm sure a lot of people did see it anyway, but
yeah, internet exists.
It was incredibly eye-opening to what was actually going on,
If,
and
if I know,
how this information. Sorry, no, go ahead.
if I know John Oliver, he'll be for the Remain camp. Yeah, am I wrong there?
I would say that definitely it leans that way, but he was trying to be somewhat fair with, at least most of the time, somewhat fair with what was going on. However, he did criticize both. He did criticize both sides. So he obviously criticized the Leave campaign more than the Remain. But the things he criticized were just the outright lies that were being told. Like he had politicians talking about certain things, and he had other people talking about certain things, and he was just pointing out that it was a complete lie. One specific thing which I thought was interesting was there was I guess there's been ad campaigns, obviously, like anything else, any referendum in any country. They had a video that said, "This is your pillow. You would buy this in a store, and here are the 9 regulations that the EU enforces upon the UK about the import-export of pillows." And what they did actually during John Oliver's speech was they paused the video and actually looked at all of the regulations they had referenced in this advertisement. And the interesting part was they said there are 9 regulations they're citing here as being overburdening and whatnot. 2 of them actually had to do with pillows. One about what's inside the pillow and what the pillowcase is made of, which every country that has regulations for import-export of materials and things like that makes sense. And the other 7 just happened to have the word pillow in them. There were a bunch of financial ones. There were a bunch of that have nothing to do with pillows. The actual pillows they're referencing in the video. It just happened to have the word pillow.
Are you arguing that the EU aren't a bunch of rule crazy?
Well, no. Here's the thing. It was not about the actual rules. It was about the implication that these 9 things governed how UK residents would deal with the import or export of a bed pillow. But it was misleading because 7 of the things they were citing as being regulations for pillows had nothing to do with the pillows you have in your bedroom. There were like 3 of the regulations were about some financial regulations about tax law and blah, blah, blah things, which they referred to as pillow something, whatever the hell the phrase was. And the rest of them were about other things that had nothing to do with pillows. It's just the word pillow was used with the document. So it was just this kind of stuff, which to me, with any referendum vote, is really unfortunate that any camp, regardless of what side is on, we're actually making claims about over-regulation and all these kinds of things where it didn't actually exist. Now, if they had picked a different topic in their ad campaign that had something to do that had far-reaching implications or something that actually was a problem, then that would have been okay. But they picked like basic things like pillows and glass or whatever the hell, buying this or that for your home, and the stuff they were referencing was bullshit. So again, but the coup d'etat, the entire thing is the song that they provided for the UK to use in their how the attitude that the England has against the rest of Europe, essentially. So anyway, it was just kind of interesting.
Wouldn't you say that sometimes happens when you bomb a place?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of negative.
I'm not saying that they have every reason to do it. They have been killing each other across the English Channel for a very long time, and I did not grow up there at all, so I'm not going to pretend that I understand. I mean, I don't understand the Australian attitude towards New Zealand and the New Zealanders' attitude towards Australia, but there's definitely a way. I think there's definitely some things that could be said for what has been going on. But again, at the end of the day, is this referendum going to be binding, and is it going to be something that will actually do something? And it sounds like
I
that's
mean,
up in the air. Is that true?
no, it's not. But what everybody should be in agreement upon is that this is not the appropriate behavior when you're elected to on a platform of leave the EU. You don't turn around and then have a referendum for stay in the EU and get on the stay side and bandwagon instead of doing what you were elected to do in the first place, which is to shore up British interests, so that if they do go through with leaving, that everything is in order and that their house is going to work, and B, to make sure that whatever needs to happen on the other side of the fence, for if they want to make a counteroffer, here's why you should stay, then that dialogue is possible. But that's not what happened. Instead, everybody talks about the populism of the right. Well, the left will equally talk about how important democracy is in terms of a legitimate process. It's the same thing, really. But what we saw there was a man doing the opposite of what he was elected to do.
Yeah. The interesting thing here is that pretty much. My sort of uneducated opinion about this whole thing is that there's definitely going to be short-term pain, but it won't last. Time goes on, stuff recovers. Right now, every article that's currently attached to this vote they're all talking about how the British pound is now at its lowest point since like 1985.
If you're a currency investor, now would be a good time.
Exactly. This is the thing, and so I don't know. It's just something that it's so incredibly prevalent right now, obviously in the news. Alan's just kind of sitting there going, I could care less. Dave, take off your shirt, show us your man nips. And but I think that I don't know. It's so we are recording this on a day that will be remembered historically. So, let's now, of course, talk about how a soccer player was kicked out of a game because he farted. So I think it's very important to move on to that. It's so incredibly important.
I don't think you need to say anything more about that. That's all there is to say.
It does sort of speak for itself in a way.
So to give you some Alan, would you like to give us some background into why this was a shitty call?
So I guess there was a soccer game recently between two lower division Swedish soccer teams, and one of the players on one of the teams was given a red card and kicked out of the game for unsportsmanlike behavior for farting loud enough for the referee to hear him. Apparently he had a bit of an upset stomach and needed to fart, so he did. And the referee thought it was disrespectful and kicked him out of the game. That's about all there is to it. It's just kind of, I've never heard of that before, of a player being kicked out of a game of any kind, soccer or otherwise, for breaking wind.
But Alan, you saw the picture of the guy.
Yeah.
He was evidently pleased with himself.
Yeah, I think that was just a picture of the guy. I don't think it was a picture of farting necessarily. But he looked like a bit of a jerk, actually. He probably
maybe that was private.
Maybe kind of maybe he farted in the referee's general direction or something. Maybe he didn't like a call or something. It was like.
That was perfect. Yeah, it's perfect.
It's so good that we talk about really important things here, about the Brexit vote, and then we talk about a man being kicked out of a football game, a soccer game, because he farted on the field.
Well, I'm sure there they call it football. Or footy, if you will.
How do you follow that up? I really have no clue. I've finished my entire London Pride. I normally save some for
Did
the
you only buy
gallery.
one bottle? Did it come like...
It only comes in one bottle things, yeah.
See, I had to buy 4 cans.
Weird.
Out of
Yeah,
curiosity, I'd like to know how much one bottle was.
Well, then I have to say, I repeat to you a line that I've always found really important, is that Marcellus Wallace has no friends in the valley. Move out of the sticks, boys.
Well, okay, but how much did you pay for one bottle?
$4.20, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 4 cans were 9 something.
Yeah, so I'm not. Hey, Legacy's not cheap, man. Granted, I didn't look to see if there were any cans. I just looked for the name, and that's the first one I found. So, any other news that we've had this past week? I mean, we last week was kind of a low energy show because of what would happen in Orlando. What's been going on this week?
Well, there is one thing. I think I sent a link through for this. There's a report out of South River, Ontario. Highlander Brew Company and Epitaph Records have announced a collaborative release. It's called the Oxblood Ale, which is a summer pale ale with West Coast influences. And the label is actually a record that you can peel off the bottle and put on a turntable, and it includes a single from the California punk band Plague Vendor.
Plague Vendor? That's
Plague
awesome.
Vendor is a California punk band, and it's a track from their album Blood Sweat.
Hmm.
And so the track is Oxblood, and it's Oxblood Ale. The label itself is a record you peel off and put on a turntable. How awesome is that? I mean, I've never heard of a collaboration like that.
Very.
Huh. Cool.
I think it is kind of awesome. I just wish I had a turntable.
Yeah, a lot of people do now.
Coming back.
Do any of you have a turntable?
I have a turntable.
I do as well, actually. Not
I
actually
may have one.
up or anything. It's like away in storage somewhere, but I do have one. I can find it. I'm not going to find it because it's a waste of time. But
But what about this? What if you buy this beer that has this?
well, the thing is, it's not going to be available here. It's going to be available in where is it? It's going to be available in a limited run of 650 ml bottles at select beer store locations in Ontario and the Highlander retail store while supplies last.
Well, that's actually a topic we could close with. Is vinyl on an upsurge? Is there actually going to be?
Yes.
Yeah. Is it going to make a comeback stronger than CDs or downloads or whatever?
There is a certain type of person out there, an audiophiles, who appreciate the depth of the sound that came from records on a turntable. If you see new release stuff that's coming out on vinyl now, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
They're selling turntables
An
everywhere.
old release.
Yeah, they're selling turntables everywhere. A lot of them are very modern with like USB ports and all that kind of stuff, so you can hook it up to your computer. I think vinyl is coming back in a big way.
Which reminds me, which is related news. This just today, the court case against Led Zeppelin for the opening riff of Stairway to Heaven was determined to not be the same, and therefore the case is now closed. They determined that it is not a copy of the other album's riff. It is. They said yes, it is similar, but it is not the same. And basically, suck it. And that was it. So Led Zeppelin is off the hook. That's exactly what
Led Zeppelin. Hey, I'm a big fan of Led Zeppelin, but I mean, even I acknowledge that they stole a lot of stuff. I mean,
every band steals crap.
Every band,
even if it is not intentional, it is not something that is a new thing. So, anything else, guys?
I think it was Picasso that said, "Art borrow and great artists steal."
That is true. This is what I'm told.
So, final words about the beer.
Overall, I give London Pride
Good stuff.
From Fuller's a thumbs up. I wish that we had a beer like this in Canada. I'm sure we do. Haven't found it yet, at least from my small sampling of beer. Another thing to point out is that we are currently building a map of all the beers that we have tried, so you can see on a map of the planet where the beers have come from. So, and hopefully it will be very helpful to us, because
it would be kind of cool if we could do a beer from like the Middle East or something, or Egypt.
That would be cool, especially countries that don't outlaw alcohol. But you never know. We might find something.
I was just going to say it might be a bit of a challenge.
No, I'm sure it exists, but you never know. It might be out there waiting for us to discover it.
You would have to go there yourself and dig it up.
I nominate Dave to go.
Dave, get on a plane, head to the Middle East, and tell us what you find. Because that would be kind of awesome.
You guys foot the bill for my trip, and I'm there. Done. See, that was easy.
Much more willing than I'd be, actually.
Yeah, totally. I mean, really, I don't care if you pay me $1 million. I'm not going. I don't want me to be headed on a beach.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Granted, the area is little, yeah.
But I don't know.
All right.
I think Egypt at the moment is reasonably quiet.
True. Well, thank you everyone for watching, and we will see you guys next week. Of course, if you want to follow us, let us know what's going on, or find out what's going on in the beer world. You can, of course, follow us on Twitter. All the links are down there, so don't be afraid to click on them. And thank you again, boys. You've all been astounding, and I'll see you all next week.